What's up, guys? We have another game with the white pieces. We're rated 1380 against Astro Ken 1374. We're going to play a bishop's opening. He's going to bring his king's knight out. Makes perfect sense. We're going to develop our queen's knight, control the center. He's going to develop bishop c5, control the center as well as dark squares, points at my king. We're going to close the pawn chain with d3 and solidify. He's just going to castle. Solid, safe moves. We're going to go crazy and play f4. This attacks the center, starts kingside pawn storm, but weakens the dark square diagonal. So he takes the pawn, we recapture it, developing our bishop and getting ready. Well, we were going to put our knight to f3. He takes it. Obviously we have to take back, but I want to emphasize that this trade is not good for him. That bishop was his best piece, controlling this weak diagonal of ours. Now we have nothing to worry about. He has no pressure on our position. Our knight didn't even move. We gladly do this. And you may say, well, now you can't castle. Well, I'll just castle queenside, and my rook is ready to attack the king. Perfect positioning. So he goes c6, trying to shut out my bishop, break the center, so on and so forth. But he doesn't have any pawns in the center, and so we always have to consider a move like e5. Knight can't go here, 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 and this is a terrible move. But if we go here and he goes queen e7 and we go queen e2 and he, let's say, brings the rook over and we long castle, his knight doesn't actually have a square to go to, so we have another turn. That's extremely interesting. We also have moves like this, something like this. We also have moves like this, really clamping down his position. That looks like a nasty move. But e5, if it works, it's got to be the best. Maybe you just go, maybe you don't, you just go king d2 immediately after he puts something on the e file, so you don't waste time. And then he would lose the knight if he puts his rook there. So he actually has to go queen e7, not rook over. And then he has to evacuate the knight. Then I'll start a kingside attack. Let's go for that. It looks interesting. I'm very curious what the engine thinks, but none of that matters in the middle of the game. I feel like bishop c6 was the best move, like the obvious positional move. But e5 is the fun dynamic move. I think this is a mistake. It does pin, like the threat is the pin, but it takes away the only available square that the knight had. I mean, it can go here, but it loses a pawn and creates tons of weaknesses once that pawn is gone. So I think after moving my king, I know this looks funny. I just need to break this pin. You don't have to move your king. So, but like this offers a knight trade, this you still can't take because it's a different pin. There is this actually, but then the knight can again go here. So let's just move our king. Looks funny, but he doesn't have a dark square bishop, so he can't harass us. We have a bishop covering the diagonal anyway. And now this is a threat, and he can't go back. So he kind of has to go here. And then which piece do we want to take with? Would I rather have the bishop there or the knight there? I guess the bishop, open board. I mean, the knight's good too, but I guess the knight would want to go this way. If I have to go this way, it's kind of stuck again. Actually, you have some weird tactics here at some point, but I feel like this is very open. I have the bishop pair, so can't be bad. Also, queen h5 is coming, as well as rook a f1. These are my ideas. So he develops a knight. This actually does threaten the pawn in the center. It's important to know, I guess. Do I have any tactics? Bishop takes f7, king takes, queen h5, g6, pawn up. Has to go here. That looks terrible for him. I take the g pawn. If he goes up, that has to be good for me. So if I take this and he takes, and I go queen h5, and he doesn't go g6, and he just goes back, then I have nothing. Yeah. And if I go here now, that pawn's hanging. I really don't want to waste time defending the pawn anyway. So like here, g6, king in. He takes the thing. I hit the queen. He has f6 there. Oh no, he doesn't because I still have my bishop here. So no f6. His queen goes somewhere. Then I go here. How does he defend against queen g7? I'm going to go for the checkmate without my rooks. I'm going to go for a no rook checkmate. I'm going to use these 4 pieces to try to organize it. Notice on the king's side he has just the rook. Okay, this point, so I'm going to count it. This actually matters because it stops his queen from coming here and I've written all the lines. That's why they say when you have a pawn on e5, you can try to arrange attack on the king because it's like your base of operations. Instead he goes queen here, which does defend the pawn in a different way and put a third attacker. So now this pawn's basically might just be a goner, which is whatever. We want the attack, so we don't really care. We can move one of these rooks here and here. Which one though, and how? We can also take the knight and remove the attack on the pawn since we're up material. That would open up his bishop though and give away our beautiful bishop, so I don't like it really. I do want to put a rook. I guess we can eye his queen. There's no harm in eyeing his queen since he put it here. And we could put this one here to add a third attacker on the f7 pawn. And now our rooks are in the attack. I didn't think he was going to do this. I thought he'd go like g6. It's a very normal response from a human. He goes rook back. This maybe prepares f6, f5, except for the fact the pawn's pinned. So all it actually does is put a super passive, super defensive. Now I could go attack the queen. There is no f6 because of the pin. I don't know if the queen... Oh, the queen actually has this checked. Oh god, he had it here. And then my bishop's hanging. So if I move my king and he takes the bishop, we go check and we pick up, or we go check and mate him. Okay, so it didn't actually work. So it's our turn. We almost lost material, but we did not. Still, there's no reason to... Oh, I see. Maybe he saw that tactic, and that's why he moved his rook. So in that case, we're just going to stop further knight jumps and queen possibilities. It's just a super safe prophylactic move, stopping all tactics from black, because black's position's terrible. Imagine losing because you some ridiculous tactic you didn't see when black has this position. That would feel bad, so you don't want to do that. Also, this pawn supports the d4 pawn push, which solidifies the e5 pawn. So I'm not calculating or thinking, I'm just going to automate it because now there's no pressure on anything, and all he can do now is move the f pawn because he got rid of this, but Now that I solidified my center, I'm on material with the attack. There's rook lift possibilities. There's bishop relocation possibilities. G5, bishop is going to come here eventually. He's going to psychologically feel forced to play G6 at some point. Okay, so he plays F6 now, but this weakens the light squares. So, I don't know. If we take, he takes with the queen. That's his idea. I want to do that, but it looks suspicious. Something about this is extremely fishy. Maybe I should rook lift. Maybe I should take. Takes, takes. But then my queen's kind of exposed. My king's kind of loose. I don't see a reason for that. Do I have this? I take it. So this, I take it. Yeah, I knew this looked suspicious because you just take it. My head's not working today or any other day. I was born this way, actually. Believe it or not, we were all born the way we are. Like any seed, you plant it. The thing that's gonna come out, predetermined. Not gonna put an apple seed in and then will a grape to come out. And if it's a healthy or not a good one, bountiful or not, it's all in the seed. Just like when this chess game started, this checkmate already happened. It was already in the PGN file of the game. Okay, so now he does this. It stops taking the pawn. It also doesn't lose the pawn with G6, but at least G6 created horizontal defense. Now, this weakens the light squares tremendously, which allows us to come in. There's only one way to stop checkmate, and it is wrong. No, it's king over, stops checkmate. F5 stops checkmate, loses the pawn, but stops checkmate. So he moves his king over. I can give this check and make him go back, but then I don't have the checkmate battery, so um, I'm gonna take this since it's pinned. Take another defender. I'm not really sure what's happening, but it can't be good for him. Maybe he's gonna try to do some stuff in the center. I wish my G pawn wasn't here. I always say that. I just want to throw it away. It's so useless. But if he takes, then maybe I'll intermezzo this so get his queen kind of awkward placed maybe. He goes for a queen trade, actually. So the queen was here. He moves it back to offer a queen trade to relieve pressure on his position, but what's the drawback? It undefends this row. So checkmate. So we'll play another game against Retz Dar, 1367. He opens up with d4, sensible, but then e3, less sensible. We're going to strike in the center with c5, and he's going to create this Slav pawn triangle. It's terrible. Your bishop's inside your pawn chain. You're not developing pieces. I'm going to take this pawn. I'm going to take his central pawn with my flank pawn. He takes back. The good thing for him, his bishop is now open. Bad thing for him is black already equalized in the beginning of the game, moved 4, 3. So I put a pawn in the center. I open up my bishop's diagonal. I just get ready to do normal development. Instead of developing his piece that I opened for him because I'm a nice guy, he puts a pawn there and blocks it again. What are you going to do? Maybe he's going for this type of Stonewall-esque idea. I'm going to immediately bring my bishop out so I can close my pawn chain without blocking my bishop. He blocks the attack on the queen with a bishop. This actually threatens my bishop. It's hanging at the moment. I'm going to retreat my bishop. You could take, it's perfectly fine, but I'm going to retreat and leave his bishop here. He could challenge me again, but then I'll throw my knight in the center. He goes, the reason I did this is because his bishop's more active on d3, so if he leaves it on e2, my bishop is nice on this diagonal, just as nice as this one, so it's almost like a trick if he doesn't want to repeat. Okay, so h3 is threatening to, I guess, kick my stuff, but I'm actually going to disallow it with h5, and I don't want to give him all the space because he already has 2 pawns here. I don't want to like just let him push me and roll me over. So I put a pawn here to stop any g4 ideas, and also it prepares an h4 idea, really cementing these pawns in a bad position, like a backward pawn, weak. And then once my pawn is here, I could put my knight and finagle it to b3, g3. So he goes knight f3, looks at some good squares, makes sense, developing move. I kind of want to take advantage of this hole that he created. I'm gonna immediately play this. You definitely don't have to do this, but I kind of like that it opens up this square, and then I could put this one in here maybe, and that looks kind of strong if he let me do that. He has some checks here and here. He also has, you know, queen in here, but queen c8 and queen c7. So he just jumps his knight in. Maybe he's making room for his bishop, something like that. Puts a little pressure, and it actually looks at these light squares, so now we have to be careful on this diagonal because of the coordination attempts. So just for now, I'm going to I'm just gonna block the checks. Now none of his moves are, you know, forced because it's not a check. And so he takes the knight, but that was his best piece, clearly in a great position, and he takes it from one of my worst pieces. I'm going to take back with the queen, keeping in mind there's no bishop b5 4 pin. If I take and he goes here trying to set that up, I can go a6. And now my position is basically winning, even though I'm not up material. Positionally it should be. He develops his knight, but it's not, maybe it's going here, but that takes a lot of time, and I don't see the big deal. Or maybe he's just trying to cover the center, that in case I do something like this, that's fair. I'm going to stay, no, that's a blunder. I want to put it here. I could go this way, but then that allows him to trade. I don't want to trade too much stuff. I'm going to do a high-class waiting move with a6. The reason is I do want to play e6 and develop my bishop, but by playing e6 I remove another defender Like my bishop can't come back on this diagonal, and I don't want him to have any ideas. So by playing a6, I shut out all potential ideas, even if there were none. So he moves his knight. Now he's trying to put the other knight here, but that undefends this square for my knight. So now I'm going to hop my knight in, and the difference is he put both of his pawns here. That means he can never kick my knight. But I have an f pawn, so I am going to play f6 at some point. Now I have to move my queen, but maybe like in the next move I move after or something. So maybe queen. See, I didn't move my e pawn, so that actually gives me mobility, which you don't normally have on this rank because he played so poorly. So maybe I have more interesting queen jumps. Like, are these normally you never consider this, but is this a move? Kind of. Normally this is an insane move, but no, that allows queen a4, and the rook is hanging in that line. Huh. Okay, so we can't do anything crazy. So I guess we just have to go to c7 or c8, because that protects the rook actually. So on queen a4 you can go b4, and he can't take because the rook is defended. He can give this check, but then bishop d7, and that's why I'm saying I want this as an extra defender, because we do have light squares that look kind of funky, which is why you want a castle ideally, but he removes his bishop from this possibility and goes the other way. But I'm not afraid of stuff like this, of course. So he's attacking my bishop. I'm gonna defend it while developing my dark square bishop, because that makes the most sense. I might not even develop my dark square on this diagonal. I still may go the other way, but I wanted to, if he takes, open up the G file potentially. And this supports my knight. And again, I can still kick his knight because these are doubled pawns. But now my rook has a possible activity. His bishop develops, but it's not doing much. I'm going to make the just quick decision here, just to ruin kingside castling, because he has to move his rook. I could always go back. The middle might be a better square. I just did this right now just to remove his castling rights, and then I'll do something else. Because now that I know he can't castle kingside, maybe I'll, prepare something for the queenside, getting ready for his queenside castling, like a pawn storm minority attack to break it open. My king is still in the center, kind of weird. I do want to kick his knight. Then he'll have all useless pieces. If it jumps in here, I'll go rook over. He takes the bishop. I'll just take with the king. That looks reasonable. I think I'm going to go for that. And then I'll start my stuff on the king side. Whenever you see opponent's pieces on your side of the board, you should consider kicking them, or the complete opposite. They might, because it's on your side of the board, your opponent might intuitively think, oh, it must be good. But sometimes they're just terribly placed pieces that do absolutely nothing. And those pieces you want to leave on your side or wherever they are. You don't want to force him to improve a piece that's terrible. So what just happened? Yeah, I went here. What are you thinking about? Just move your rook. Like, you don't have other choices. Okay, anyway. He moves his rook. We play f6 like we said. Now he can go back or forward. What does he choose? He goes for the forward option. So we move our rook, and now his knight is trapped, so he has to take. We finally get our king off of his light squares, so that's nice. Our rook is way better than his rook, right? Our knight's way better than his bishop, right? And now we have this square that he can never do anything with. So now he brings his queen out here and puts some pressure on the light squares, but that pressure's over. So I'm just going to make this solidifying move, queen c6. Just ties everything together. Um, so now he goes and tries to change targets. It's actually defended, but just to solidify, maybe you could play, but the thing is the e-file is open, and if he puts a rook here, not a problem in this case because we put the knight here and we block that file. So, but we don't have to rush. We don't have to rush. We can try to make improving moves. The thing is, he always has this, and when we move, he can pick up this pawn. It's not the end of the world, but there's no reason to allow that. Although there's no way to actually stop it. So maybe like if we go here, then we'll have to trade. I know. I'm gonna go queen e6. It's where I wanted to put it before, only because the e-file is open. So this pins and attacks the bishop, so he has to address it. He can't long castle. So he puts his queen here, but now I have queen in here. I also have knight here. But queen in here makes castling even scarier for him. Yeah, because here castles, rook in. Let's just move the queen up. Move our pieces closer. I mean, even if we traded our awesome piece for his garbage piece, that would put a rook here, and that rook would be an awesome piece. So he castles, but it's kind of stuck. So I'm going to start launching a pawn storm. It's kind of scary because he can just trap my queen, I guess. So yeah, maybe my queen shouldn't. Yeah, my knight should definitely be here, not my queen. And now I'm stuck. Awesome. I'm just going to move it back and run away because I'm a coward. And I'm going to put my knight where it belongs all along on the beautiful e4 square. I was trying to make something happen, but you see now he tries to x-ray my queen, so now you just definitely put the knight back, you block everything, comes with tempo, move it towards the king side. So yeah, this knight moving here was kind of useless at the end of the day. Should have just left it here all along. This queen moving in was useless, um, considering the circumstances. So he goes for this, but because he moved his rook to x-ray our queen, it undefends this pawn, and now it's pinned. Although I would gladly trade these pawns anyway, so although I don't have to trade, I get to keep maybe. This is hit twice, so he needs to defend it with one of these rook moves. I lied. He does not need to defend it. He can sack his queen instead. And maybe he thinks I'm going to take and, he gets the queen, but I'm just not going to take, so what? I'm going to move my rook over and line up with his king and just ignore him. Maybe he's not going to know what to do. He's going to do something like this, but it doesn't work. And he's close to getting some type of checkmated. He double stacks, but in case he didn't notice, there's a knight here, not moving it. So we're going to start the minority attack. If he sacks a rook, we take with the pawn. So there's no point in putting two there. He moves his king over, and now we just sack a pawn to break open the c file. He doesn't take, so we take. Now he takes, and we take. And now his king is looking awfully lonely in the corner. think I'm gonna go here. Something like that. Maybe here. We'll just take the rook. And then his king has no squares. And we're threatening a fork. Check. Walks right into it. Check. Double fork. Or just a regular fork. We take his last piece. He's like, I'm going to move it out of the way. No, didn't work. Alright, GG's. Win again. We need more time, but keep climbing. Hopefully these videos help. Let me know. Comments and likes are appreciated. Goodbye.